Welcome, and thank you for joining us for an Integrative Arts lesson plan. My name is Jordan, and I'll be sharing with you today how to combine art and math in your classroom. We'll be looking today specifically at expressions and how to decompose and recompose them. We'll be doing that by creating a paper cube sculpture. And as you can see on the sculpture, on each face is a different design. Each design represents a different way to express the same number. This lesson was made for a 6th grade class, but it can be adapted to different grade levels. In order to do this lesson, you'll need certain materials. However, based on the needs of your class, you can adapt or change those materials to better fit their needs. For this lesson, you'll need different colored construction paper, as you can see here. You'll also want a cardstock printout of a net cube. For ours, we had a template for different shapes, which we will provide for you in our lesson plan materials. We made each symbol correspond to a different number so that students had a guide to go by. We also gave them an envelope to store materials so that if they had loose ones, they could carry them over to the next day. Step 1, you'll want to assign your students an expression as a class. Today, our expression will be 100. They'll need to come up with 3 different variations of that expression. They can do this by recording on their recording sheet, which we've provided for you in our lesson plan. We'll take a moment and let our students create their expressions. For step 2, your students should have 3 ways of expressing 100. Now they can use our symbols key to translate their expressions into a symbolic language. You can now take a moment to create your designs. Step 3. Now that our students have their design, they can now take a moment to tally up the number of shapes that they'll need for each face of the cube. As you'll remember, a cube has 6 faces, and we have 3 different designs, so they'll need to do each design twice in order to cover each face of the cube. For instance, here we have 10 times 10, and the way that we're representing it is by using 2 large circles to show 10 times 10. But since he'll be representing this twice, he'll need 4 large circles. For step 4, you'll want to make sure that your shapes template has been cut out so that students have the loose shapes to trace and cut out on their colored paper. For step 5, before students start cutting and tracing their designs, they'll want to create a color palette. For my color palette, I chose to use lime green, dark green, and pink. They can choose whatever colors they'd like. However, they'll want to make sure they assign a specific color to a shape in order to keep consistency. And we'll let our students go ahead and take a moment to trace and cut out their shapes. And it's important to keep in mind that students will want to cut out all of their shapes at the same time so that when they go to paste, they'll have them already ready. Now that our students have all their shapes cut out, we're ready to move on to step 6. Step 6 will be cutting out your net cube if you've not already done that. Before they start gluing, it's helpful for them to fold the corners of the cube. So I'll let you all go ahead and start folding the edges of the cube in order to get it ready for when you're going to paste it together. Now that we have our edges folded, we'll be ready to assemble the cube once we've glued our shapes on. We'll go ahead and secure the shapes to the paper using glue and referring back to our designs to represent the expressions that we chose. Looks like our students have finished adding their shapes, so now they're ready to assemble their cube. Since their edges are folded, they should have a little bit easier time doing this. What they'll want to do is put glue on the folded side flaps. And it's easiest to start out with the flaps on either side of the middle point of your cube. That way, you can use your fingers on the inside, like this, to apply pressure to hold the sides together. You can work your way around, placing glue on each side and leaving the top until the very last. You may need to use a significant amount in order to get it to stay. And then, once you've got the box formed, you'll then place glue on either side of the top edges, and also on the edge that's going to go down inside of the box to secure the top. And you may want to hold the top down for at least 10 to 15 seconds to give it some time to dry and make sure it stays together. When your students have finished their cubes, as my students have here, you'll then want to figure out a space for installation. The way you decide to install it is up to you and the space you have available. You'll want to check the durability of the space that you have selected. We chose to attach a fishing line to our cubes and hang them from the ceiling using a stapler. However, you can choose to install yours however best fits your space. Thank you for viewing our lesson, Express Yourself. We hope that this lesson has inspired you to use art in your classroom to increase student engagement and self-expression. If you'd like to download copies of our lesson plans or other resources, please visit our website at SVMoA.org. You won't want to miss our other lesson plans that integrate art into social studies, English, and science lessons. This project was made possible by the U.S. Institute of Museum and Library Services, with additional support by Wendy and Alan Pesky.